Wealthy families, institutions, private banks, and even certain central banks store their gold here. You've surely heard of the Pandora Papers, which exposed the super rich's hidden wealth and became one of the most important news stories of all time. The data shows that 100 billionaires, 35 current and past national leaders, over 330 politicians, celebrities, members of the royal families, and even some religious leaders had their offshore banking documents released. The paper provided information about 29,000 offshore accounts and 14 offshore service providers who assist clients in forming businesses in secrecy jurisdictions. One of these 14 companies assists clients with offshore banking in the UAE or Switzerland. This landlocked region in Central Europe is well known for its watches, but in today's film, we'll look at exactly how it became the world's wealth vault. That's right, the Swiss banking business, specifically how it has employed vaults and bunkers in the Swiss Alps and other snow-capped mountains to conceal the wealth of the ultra-rich, some of which were built during Adolf Hitler's rule. And today, we dig hard and see the real foundation of these giant bunkers and how secure they are. So out of all the great European nations, Switzerland is one of the world's most developed countries, and Swiss employees are among the highest paid in the world. The monthly gross revenue amounts to $7,800. The average salaries in Austria and Germany are much lower, at $4,100 and $3,800 respectively. Switzerland's wealth is due to a variety of factors. One reason could be the blue banana. Switzerland is wealthy today because it has always been an important part of the European urban belt, also known as the blue banana. This region, which stretches from northern Italy to England, has been the backbone of the European economy for over 1,000 years and is still vital today. The area has the highest population density and has produced innumerable inventions. Also, Switzerland has a reputation for bank secrecy, with wealthy foreigners depositing enormous sums of money, frequently to dodge taxes or protect assets from political turmoil in their own countries. A lot of European money from Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom was deposited in Swiss institutions. It is thought that 1.5 trillion euros in unreported European money is kept there. Globally, the sum reaches 2 trillion euros. Furthermore, Switzerland became a financial sanctuary for money from Latin America, the Middle East, Asia, and Russia, owing mostly to political reasons, fear of expropriation in the home country, or fear of regime change or war. There were few options because other financial institutions were less independent, neutral, or professional. Switzerland has enjoyed an unrivaled position in the global financial landscape for nearly 40 years. In reality, it is home to numerous high-value enterprises. Switzerland was the first country in continental Europe to industrialize around the Napoleonic Wars, and this early start allowed their textile sector in particular to compete with England. They were also quite technically proficient, having done pre-industrial tasks such as clocks and embroidery. Furthermore, Swiss people were more likely to be highly educated at a time when the general population was not. In the 1700s, most Swiss people understood how to read and write due to the high proportion of Protestants. You had to be able to read the Bible, which tremendously aided industrialization. So fast forward to today, and it's perhaps not surprising that Switzerland is home to some of the world's largest global firms, like Nestlé, Glencore, UBS, Credit Suisse, Zurich Insurance, and ABB. However, despite the fact that Switzerland is home to numerous international, giant multinational firms, it is worth noting that 99% of all enterprises in Switzerland are small and medium-sized. But of course, for those who love gold, Switzerland refines roughly 70% of global production, and Swiss luxury serves as a springboard for their image, making it an invaluable communication weapon when competing on a global scale. It is frequently said that Switzerland is wealthy solely because it was involved in money laundering and the recovery of many people's gold after World War II. which is patently ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, Switzerland was largely unaffected by World War II, which gave it an advantage, and Germany sold gold to the Swiss in order to obtain Swiss currency to conduct transactions on enemy territory, and Swiss banks purchased that gold with full knowledge that it had been stolen from conquered territories and exploited people. To be honest, attributing Switzerland's current success to dubious business practices from 80 years ago does not provide a fair picture of the country's economy. It doesn't emphasize how good Switzerland's public finances are. Historically, Switzerland's elite and powerful people have been predominantly liberal conservative. They came from both the industrial and banking sectors. To prevent the agricultural sector from forming an alliance with the proletariat, they continued to assist them through selective protectionism and formed a strong right-wing alliance, which is why there was never a major left movement as there is in the rest of Europe. However, due to their liberal stance, they tended to maintain the state as weak as possible. Switzerland has a tradition of only intervening when absolutely necessary, and in almost every crisis and foreign conflict, liberals and conservatives kept the country as anti-interventionist as possible. As a result, politicians in Switzerland have a much more difficult time just promising free items to their constituents in order to be elected, while Swiss voters are more concerned with the economic ramifications of the government's activities. As a result, Switzerland enjoys an ideal situation. Economic stability is closely linked to strong state finances. Switzerland's little national debt can be serviced through domestic savings, given the country has huge trade surpluses. Another advantage of having such a solid macroeconomic position is that its currency, the Swiss franc, is one of the world's strongest. Over the last few decades, the Swiss franc has appreciated against all of the world's main currencies. It has strengthened tremendously not only against the euro during the last 2 decades, but also against the US dollar and the British pound. It means that Switzerland can export at greater prices, import at lower rates, and allows its inhabitants and businesses to invest more easily outside of the country. Let us not forget that safe haven currencies like the Swiss franc do exceptionally well during times of global crisis, such as the one we're experiencing today. And because Switzerland's economic policy is primarily motivated by the need to maintain its status as a safe haven for Swiss franc-denominated wealth, whether the Swiss National Bank is faced with a choice of combating inflation through wage growth or Swiss franc appreciation, it will almost certainly opt for the latter. World-class infrastructure enables the Swiss economy to expand trade, tourism, and mobility, and Switzerland is well known for its efficient trains, which nearly always arrive on time and at a reasonable price. Those of you who have traveled on them will understand what I mean. But it's not just trains. Switzerland also has a massive road network. Sean Connery drove the famed Furka Pass as James Bond in his Aston Martin DB5. And if that wasn't enough, Switzerland is a leader in air travel, with one of the greatest passenger-to-population ratios in the world. And when you combine all of this with its Central European location, it's just easier for both individuals and businesses to conduct business in Switzerland. And all of this benefits the society as a whole. Switzerland is second in the world for the highest percentage of adults possessing a PhD. And, like all public spending, public education in Switzerland is tax-funded and decentralized, with each canton having significant control over how their tax money is spent on education. In 2021, the Confederation, cantons, and communes will spend 41.3 billion Swiss francs on education. This sum accounts for 17.7% of total public spending and 5.6% of gross domestic product. On a national basis, the Swiss economy devotes 3% of GDP on research and development. More than 75% of the funds originate from the private sector. Unsurprisingly, Swiss companies invest the most in R&D, accounting for 6.6% of their net income. All of these factors contribute to Switzerland's continued leadership in the pharmaceutical, chemical, engineering, and agricultural industries. So, why is Switzerland so rich? Fairly frankly, it's fairly complex. Many people attribute all of this to the country's banking and financial sectors, but the truth lies in the intricacies. In 2018, Transparency International classified Switzerland as the world's third least corrupt country. However, its financial sector is a different story, since it has been ranked as the most corrupt in the world due to strict secrecy regulations and a significant offshore banking business that allows for money laundering and the concealment of illicit funds. Honestly, the Swiss economic model cannot be replicated in other countries because it would not function the same way it does in Switzerland. Other countries struggle to remain neutral during wartime. It is difficult for other countries to have a terrain that is relatively less invadable. But if you have to learn anything from it, it may be two lessons. 1. Trust is the most important aspect of any business, financial transaction, or money exchange. 2. The second lesson can be learned straight from the people of Switzerland. Work hard, spend little, and save a lot.